Have you ever felt betrayed at work, but the way you want to scream? Now imagine this. You're in the middle of the workday. You receive a notification on your cell phone. You open it out of curiosity. And boom, a group of mensagens, its name, created by your own colleagues. A secret group, toxic, where they laughed at you. They made fun of his way of fala, his rupas, his ideas in the meetings. And the worst? You were added unintentionally. That's how I found out that while I thought I was doing my best, there were people who were frying me behind my back. This is not a video about gossip. It's not a cheap drama video. It's about the brutal reality behind the scenes of companies, where what most sabotages your career is not your competence. It is the poison of an environment where envy, debauchery, and manipulation are loose at breakfast. This happens every day in offices, startups, agencies, offices, environments where talent is not enough, where you just need to stand out a little. And that's it. You become a target. You don't always notice it right away. But the message group exists, even when you don't see it. Sometimes the group is real. Sometimes the group is the forced smiles, the giggles after you pass, the silences when you enter the room. And when you finally see it with your own eyes, when he reads every line of mockery, every emoji, every irony written with his name, it's as if the ground disappears for a second. It's humiliating. It's revolting. It's shocking. And the worst, it happens to many more people than you think. But no one talks about it. Why? Because whoever speaks is labeled a drama queen, of paranoid, of too sensitive. And that's how the corporate dirty game continues, Rodando, people being destroyed in silence. Today, I'm going to tell you exactly what happened to me, or rather, to the person who lived through it and authorized me to share it. But more than that, I'll show you how I reacted, and how you can transform a situation like this into strength, respect, and emotional shielding. But before continuing, he answers me sincerely. Have you ever suspected that there are people at your work laughing at you behind your back? Have you ever had that feeling of being excluded but don't know exactly why? Have you ever found yourself thinking, are they talking about me? But was there no way to prove it? Then this video is for you, because now you're going to find out what goes on behind the scenes in the corporate environment and how to protect yourself without descending to their level. It was an ordinary afternoon. That mechanical routine of emails, useless meetings, and coffees that no longer have an effect. My cell phone vibrated. At first, I thought it was just another notification from the team group, maybe something about the week's schedule or some inside joke that I wouldn't even understand. But then I saw the name. The name of the group made me freeze for a second. It wasn't the classic marketing team or Project Team X. It was something much more informal and cruel, something like the Coffee Infiltrators, a name that seemed harmless until I walked in. In fact, I didn't even know I was coming in. The notification came because someone accidentally added me. Yes, unintentionally, without realizing that they were about to drop the mask. I entered, clicked, and I saw. The first messages didn't make much sense. They had emojis, jokes with nicknames that at first glance seemed silly. Until there it was, my name, not in a casual phrase, but in the middle of a grotesque joke, followed by a sequence of laughing emojis, skulls, sadistic things. Someone wrote, "He really thinks he's doing well in that performance." Someone warns that beautiful PowerPoint does not cover insecurity. Another replied with, "That voice of his makes me sleepy. It's like a TED talk of someone who should never be at a TED." And they laughed, and they laughed. A shower of laughing emojis, clowns, faces rolling their eyes. There was one who wrote, "Today he came with that Uncle Blazer again. Do you think he's a manager?" And the worst, they were people with whom I had lunch. People who smiled when I arrived in the room. People who said "good job" at the end of meetings. At that moment, it was as if the world was silent. Do you know when you feel the blood come out of your face? As if someone pulled the rug out from under you and your reputation at the same time. It was humiliating. Shameful, surreal. I read every word, every line typed with sarcasm, every passive-aggressive comment that now made sense. Those giggles in the hallway, the look that averted when I passed. That time they forgot to schedule me at an important meeting. It wasn't a mistake, it was part of the game. And now the game had a name, and I had seen it all. I found myself standing there with my cell phone in my hand, staring at that red screen with the notification still on, while inside everything turned around. It wasn't just the anger, it was doubt, fear, the desire to disappear from the company. Am I the ridicule of the company, and I didn't notice? What else are they saying about me that I don't know? Did my boss see this group? Is he part of it? It was as if, all of a sudden, the professional environment, where you're supposed to grow, evolve, be respected, turned into a mean schoolyard, where modern bullies use Slack and WhatsApp instead of kicking your backpack. The worst thing was not to see the jokes. It was to realize that this had been happening for weeks, maybe months. The old messages were there, archived, past conversations full of hints, prints of things I had said, a piece of my email being ridiculed, a photo of my screen, sent with the caption, "Someone teach him to use a spreadsheet for God's sake. What a horrifying business." And again, emojis, laughter, more laughter. With each scroll up, my stomach turned. It was like watching a movie where the protagonist is you, only you are the target. The funny character that everyone makes fun of. That wasn't just toxic, that was corporate violence disguised as humor. That discovery moved me in a way I never imagined. I always thought I was respected, maybe not the most popular of the team, but someone with integrity. I have always sought to work in silence, deliver results, be collaborative. But here was the stark truth. In the workplace, it's not enough to be competent. You need to know how to defend yourself. The feeling that came after was one of absolute exposure, as if they had taken a picture of me crying and posted it on a wall for the whole company to see. I felt naked, vulnerable, unarmored, and the worst thing was having to continue the day as if nothing had happened. Getting up from your chair, go to the pantry to get a coffee, cross the aisle, greeting with a lump in the throat, the same person who had typed, "With that lost face of him, he will never be." Promoted, and smile as if I hadn't read that, like I still trusted someone. That afternoon I discovered that the toxic environment is not something you feel only when you are yelled at. It is subtle, it is silent. He infiltrates the backstage of the company, the secret groups, the muffled laughter. And when you finally see it, it's too late to pretend you didn't see it. But it was there, in that very moment of pain, that something changed inside me. Because along with anger, along with shame, a question was born. What now? What am I going to do with it? I could shut up. I could pretend I didn't see it. I could resign on impulse. I could take revenge directly. But I decided to do it differently. And what I did, and what happened after, was so powerful that it still changes the way I deal with sabotage, gossip, and manipulation in the workplace. But before I tell you how I reacted, let me tell you something. The impact of this situation did not stop at those messages. What came next was worse, because it wasn't just the shock of discovering the group, it was the silence after the discovery, the void, the doubt, paranoia, the constant feeling that everyone knew, everyone except me, and I started to see everything in a different way. Over the next few days, I became a different person at work. Before, I talked to everyone, participated, gave my opinion in meetings, even when no one asked for my opinion. I believed that my initiative was seen as something positive, but after that I started to shut up. He avoided asking questions. He avoided contributing. I started to review a simple email 10 times for fear of looking stupid, of becoming a meme again in the group that was now mute. Because of course, after they saw that I got in, no one else wrote a line there, but the group still existed, and that was enough to eat away at me inside. It's hard to explain how much your confidence evaporates when you realize you're surrounded by people who treat you well, but only on the surface. You start to doubt everything. He begins to wonder, was this laugh real? Did he really mean good job? Or was it just mockery in disguise? Could it be that when I turn my back, do they continue? The worst part was not reading the messages. The worst part was continuing to have to look into the eyes of each one of them, to continue living together, to continue being professional, keep smiling, keep pretending. My productivity plummeted. I got stuck on tasks that were once simple. It took twice as long to write a report because every sentence felt like a trap. What if I used the wrong word? What if they sent it back to the group to laugh at me? I started arriving earlier, leaving later, not because of will, but because the time inside the company started to hurt. I wanted to run away, and at the same time, I wanted to stay to prove something. The problem was that I didn't even know what else. And then came the second punch, the impact on my relationships with those who were not involved, people I liked, trusted, but now I didn't know who was who. I started to move away, stopped chatting in the cafe. I avoided happy hours. I closed myself off in meetings. I started to feel that everyone could be an accomplice. The fear of being betrayed again became the rule. In a few days, an environment that was already competitive turned into a minefield. My every step was taken with fear. Fear of appearing weak, fear of appearing paranoid, fear of being the next to fall into ridicule. And the craziest, at no time did anyone call me to talk. No apology. None of them was bad. Nothing. Absolute silence. As if everyone was pretending that nothing happened, waiting for me to let it go. But how do we just let it go when our dignity has been taken away in the face of messages, emojis, and chain jokes? And then the thoughts began. Those that we don't admit to anyone. Am I exaggerating? Should I just ignore it? Am I the problem? Am I being weak? But at the same time, another voice was screaming inside me. What do you mean you're going to leave it cheap? Are you going to shut up in front of people who have fun disrespecting you? Are you going to keep pretending that everything is fine while they keep smiling at your face, knowing that you saw everything? This internal battle began to consume me. And this is something that many people don't talk about. The impact of toxicity at work is not only professional, it's mental, it's emotional, it is invisible, but extremely real. I even thought about leaving the company, in simply disappearing, send a shutdown email and never set foot there again. But then came the question, if I do this, will they win? Will they laugh even more if I give up? Am I not just repeating the pattern that these people want me to live in? And most ironic of all, my bosses began to notice my behavior. One of them called me into the living room and asked if everything was okay. I looked at him and almost answered. It was all there in the throat, but I froze. Because how do you explain that you've been included in a secret group where co-workers make jokes about you behind your back, without looking fragile, without sounding too emotional, without seeming unbalanced? The fear of being seen as problematic, as one that creates confusion, is so strong that most people simply swallow it. Swallow the pain. He swallows the revolt. Swallow the humiliation. And it continues. Pretend you didn't see it, but inside the soul no longer works. You start working on automatic, delivering the minimum, to isolate himself, counting the days to leave. And in the meantime, the saboteurs remain free. They continue to be promoted. They continue to be seen as good people because they know how to play the game of the image. And you, who just wanted to work in peace, are now the stranger, the silent one, the one who has been strange lately. This cycle is cruel. And believe me, if you've been through something similar or are going through it now, I understand, really. This type of environment does not only destroy the career, it destroys self-esteem. It destroys the sense of value. It makes you believe that maybe you were never good enough, that maybe he deserves that, which may even be the boring of the team, the slow, the weirdo. And that's why it's so important to talk about it, because there are thousands of people living exactly what I lived, sitting now at their office desks, staring at the screen, with their hearts sinking, pretending that everything is fine, when inside, they're trying to figure out why it hurts so much. That's why this video exists, because you can't pretend anymore. You can't normalize sabotage as if it were a joke. You can't accept that laughing at someone behind their back is part of the company's culture, because this has a name: emotional violence, and it is destroying careers and lives every day. And if you're watching this far, it's because on some level it touches you. Maybe it was with you, maybe with someone close. Maybe you're right now thinking about leaving the company for something you don't even know how to name. So before continuing, I want you to write here in the comments, with or without a name, the phrase, "I felt it." Is that it? I felt it. If you identified with any part of what I have told you so far, because it helps other people realize that they are not alone. And if you want to open up a little more, you can tell me what happened. If you have already been deleted, if you've ever felt invisible, if you have already become the target of jokes, indirects, or silent sabotage, you can just write, "I was sabotaged," or even, "I've doubted myself because of the work environment." Any of these phrases, your way, down here, because now that you know what happened to me, you're going to see what I did next, and maybe it will help you recover what they tried to take from you. So after all that, after having seen with your own eyes the messages, the emojis, the inside jokes, after living for days with a stuck throat, a twisted stomach, and a head exploding with 1,000 thoughts per second, I had to make a decision. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't react right away. I didn't go to get satisfaction. I didn't get up from my chair shouting names. I didn't ask for a meeting with HR. I didn't run to open up prints in an explosive email with a copy to the director. In fact, I froze for days. I swallowed everything, and that was probably the mistake that cost me the most emotionally, because silence is deceiving. It seems like self-control, but sometimes it's just collapse in disguise, and it was in this limbo that I entered. During that week, I stopped recognizing myself. I woke up late because I didn't want to get out of bed. I took a shower in automatic mode. I arrived at the company with a tension in my body that not even the strongest coffee in the world could solve. There were days when I only thought about going to the bathroom, locking the door, and staying there, far, invisible. And the worst thing was to feel that I couldn't tell anyone, not even my closest friends at work, because the feeling was the following: if they weren't in the group, and why didn't you see it too? Did they know and kept quiet? Will they think I'm exaggerating? I started to hide everything, but hiding it is tiring, and hiding pain generates disease. There was one night when I lay in bed and I just couldn't sleep. His body trembled. I was reviewing every word of the group, each mocking emoji, each print. The scene repeated itself as if it were a video stuck in the loop. It was on that night that I understood that alone I couldn't take it. And it was there that I made a decision that changed everything. I sought psychological help. And if you think that's weakness, let me tell you something. What they were trying to destroy in me was not just my professional image. It was my sense of identity, my self-esteem, my sanity. Therapy was the only place where I could say, I was exposed, I was ridiculed, I'm feeling like garbage, and be heard. No judgment, no irony, no clown emoji at the end of the sentence. The psychologist looked at me with a seriousness I hadn't seen in a long time and said, "You're not crazy, you're hurt, and now it needs to rebuild with strategy." That hit hard, because I thought I needed to react as a hero, but in fact, I needed to react as a human being. The first thing she said to me was, "Don't react in the heat, react in control." And it was based on this that I started to put together my plan. I needed to turn the tables on me, but without falling into the trap of impulsivity, without giving them ammunition to call me sensitive, problematic, unbalanced. So I decided to use the most powerful weapon we have in toxic environments: strategic positioning. And that doesn't mean being silent. It means making them feel the impact of your presence without having to raise their voices. What did I do? First, I zeroed the contact outside the professional. Everything that was a side conversation, a hallway joke, or an artificial approach, I cut it, but no drama. Without announcing, I just did. Straight, direct, respectful, but cold, as if they did not exist beyond function. And do you know what this caused? Discomfort. Because the saboteur loves to be seen. And when you start to look inside it as if it were invisible, it begins to corrode. Second, I have come to use the greatest language of corporate power: visible competence. Do you know that report I was doing in a hurry? I started to deliver with surgical precision. The presentation I feared, I redid it with so much detail, so much data, so much clarity that there was no way for anyone to contest it. But here comes the different detail. I began to use calculated, firm-voiced phrases during meetings, which left a slight discomfort in the air. Kind. As everyone already knows, I'm focused on data and not speculation. Or, it's important that feedback comes from constructive sources, not from runners. It sounds simple, but the impact was lethal, because they knew I had seen it, and they knew that those phrases, although indirect, were surgical, without mentioning names, no scandal, but with the strength of someone who takes control of their own narrative. And maybe you're asking yourself now, but did it really work? It worked so much that, in less than a month, one of the group's leaders asked for a sector transfer. Another began to visibly avoid me. And the most ironic, my boss started to invite me more to strategy meetings. And why? Because those who survive a toxic environment without getting dirty go up. Simple as that. Because most of them fall, or it explodes, or he gets sick. But those who manage to stay in the game with emotional intelligence become someone impossible to ignore. But calm down. I know that not everyone can do it the same way. Each environment is a different battlefield. So if you allow me, I want to leave you with 2 lessons, which may help you react if you are going through something similar. First, never react on impulse, because what the saboteur wants most is a spectacle. He wants to see you losing control, screaming, arguing. He wants to turn his pain into entertainment. Don't give it to him. If you want, write in the comments, silence is power. Is that it to fix in your head? Second, build a reputation that doesn't depend on defense. When your delivery is so strong, so solid, so precise, they may try to sabotage you, but they can't bring you down, because the external perception will be shielded. And that's what makes them weak, invisible, inefficient. And if you think that's impossible, I get it. Maybe your environment is even more toxic than mine. Maybe you don't have room for maneuver. Maybe you're emotionally drained right now. But I need to tell you something that maybe no one has told you yet. You don't deserve to go through this. It's not part of the job. It's not freshness. It's not all in your head. What you are experiencing has a name: emotional sabotage, harassment disguised as a joke, silent manipulation. And how you react can be the difference between sinking or evolving. But this reaction needs to come from the right place. Not anger, but of intelligence, of strategic coldness. From the awareness that yes, you may be being targeted, but he will no longer be the victim. And before continuing, I want to ask you one more thing. If you've been through this, or if you're going through it now, write here in the comments, "I'm at war," that sentence, so that other people read it and know that you are resisting, that you are no longer accepting it quietly, and that you, like me, will turn the tide. After that, I was never the same at work, but now no one attacks me without a second thought. And it's not because I've become aggressive. It's not because I started to respond with rudeness or direct revenge. It's because I've become unattainable in a way they didn't expect. I learned that in this silent game that takes place behind the scenes of companies, Those who survive are not those who shout the loudest. He is the one who understands the invisible rules and knows how to move with strategy. It is the one who builds a presence that speaks for itself. He is the one who transforms pain into potency. He is the one who bleeds in silence, but gets up stronger than he entered. And let me tell you with all the letters, this does not mean swallowing everything without reaction. It means learning to react as efficiently as possible. And efficiency in toxic environments has nothing to do with impulsivity. It has to do with lectura.com, silenceintentional.com, movements, calculados.com, the emotional strength of not letting oneself be dismantled by those who are amused by the fall of others. Today, if someone tries to repeat the same pattern with me, the answer they find is different. It's not a scream. It's not drama. It is absence. It is indifference. It is a silent authority that says, be careful what you do, because I don't react like I used to. And I want you to understand that. You don't need to shout to be heard. You don't need to beg for respect, much less lower the level to prove that it has value. What you need and deserve is to rebuild your worth based on who you are, not what others say about you. If someone tries to diminish you, tries to sabotage you, tries to tarnish your image behind your back, it's because deep down, this person already recognizes you as a threat. Yes, it threatens, because no one wastes time trying to knock down those below. Sabotage is a disguised sign that you are a nuisance. And if you bother, it's because you're growing. And if you're growing, you need to postura.com, intelligence, with strategy, and above all with emotional awareness. It's not easy. You will have days of doubt. There will be days of anger, days of deep sadness, maybe even days when you think it's not worth it. But I'm here to tell you that it is, because your peace of mind is worth more than any opinion from a toxic colleague. Because your career cannot be controlled by a group of saboteurs who can't stand to see someone shining. And if you've made it this far in this video, it's because on some level, this story is yours too. Maybe it happened to you. Maybe it's happening now. Maybe you're fighting in silence, the same way I did. But now you're no longer alone. And I'm going to ask you three things. If you've made it this far, and I know that if you have, it's because it hit you. First, leave a comment here with the phrase, "No one knocks me down in silence." This phrase is more than words. It's a brand, a statement, a way of saying that you are awake, aware, and ready to react in the right way. If you want to tell your story too, you can tell it. This space here is safe, it's real, and you won't be judged here. Monday, leave the like on this video. It's not by algorithm. It's because this issue needs to come out of the shadows. Because while we pretend that nothing is happening, there are people getting emotionally ill within companies that only care about delivery and not dignity. Your like shows that this topic matters. It shows that you are willing to change this culture. It shows that you take a stand. And third, and perhaps the most important of all, subscribe to this channel now. Because what we do here is not just tell stories of pain. It is to build a space where we learn to defend ourselves, to protect yourself, growing even surrounded by sabotage. Here you will have tools, there will be support, there will be content that shows you how to shield your image, your mind and your energy. And I know you've heard this phrase 1,000 times. Subscribe to the channel. But this time, it's not by number, it's by purpose. Because if you've come this far, it's because you need to continue on this path. And I'll be here every week to help you. Oh, and before you leave, there's one more thing. Now that you understand how to identify and react to silent sabotage, you need to learn to recognize the subtler mind games being played against you. You know those looks, those innocent phrases, those micro actions that seem like nothing, but are eating away at your confidence every day. So click now on the video that is appearing here on the side. I'll tell you about 7 psychological games that are being played against you, and you don't even realize it. There I'll show you how these behaviors infiltrate the professional environment. And if you don't pay attention, they will paralyze you. Watch this video. Serious. It is not a continuation, it's survival. And if you know someone who is going through this, share this video with that person. You have no idea how a message can save someone emotionally. Because when you live in a toxic environment, the biggest fear is feeling alone. And what cures isolation is exactly that. A network, a community, a space where you're heard and respected. So subscribe to the channel and run to the next video, because now you know what to do when the group is created to laugh at you. But you still need to know how they try to manipulate you when they think they're dominating you. And I'll show you.